It's Tuesday, and it's time for Falcon Focus. I'm Matt Menzel. Thanks for joining us on CWFalcons.com. In segment number 2, we'll be joined by field hockey and women's lacrosse senior athlete Cali Newman. But at first, we talk with the newest head coach of Falcon men's hockey, that being Bill Horton. He's the third head coach now in the program's history that dates back to 2007. And a lot to get to. A lot has happened already for men's hockey. They've had their 4 non-conference games against Adrian and Trine canceled due to COVID-19, and so hockey activity suspended until at least January. Did have one exhibition game back on October the 23rd, that against the U.S. national U18 team in Plymouth, Michigan. Fell 8-2, but competed from start to finish. And, oh yeah, Coach Horton was named the interim head coach, that back on March 31st, and so he's been able to navigate from being named the head coach to now through a pandemic, and now trying to get his team to the start of the 2020-21 campaign. And Coach, you know, you had a great playing career. Was it always the goal or the thought that once your playing days were done that you would get into the coaching ranks?
Yeah. So my dad played professionally, and then he coached professionally as well. So it was always something that I thought I was going to get into. Before coming here, I was in scouting, which I enjoyed, but you don't really have that. You don't have the access to the players, and you don't have that locker room, camaraderie. And so I enjoyed it, but I knew I was still missing something. And yeah, so being in coaching, it definitely puts it all together.
And you inherit a program that last year went 12, 11, and 2, but a couple of eye-opening results here. The upset of the at the time defending national champs at UW Stevens Point. You also knocked off Lake Forest. That was on senior night, another ranked opponent. And in doing so, won a shootout thereafter to win the Border Battle Trophy that the Falcons and Foresters play for. I guess when you look back at the way last season panned out, how would you summarize last winter?
Uh, it was a solid season. I mean, we didn't make playoffs, and at the end of the day, that's the objective. But I mean, we did finish over 500. I think that there were some consistency issues last season, which I've made a very good effort into ironing out here this year. Maybe a little bit of depth issues, which I think I've corrected as well with some of the new recruiting. And so, had have the season played out as it should have this year, I think there would have been quite a bit of different result, a lot more consistency, and a lot more wins.
And whenever the season does officially begin, what's nice, at least on paper, is you have a good blend of experienced players back and a nice core of newcomers. But you bring back 5 of your top 6 scorers, and among those players, senior Braden Barker, who 34 points, that was a team best last winter, 6 goals, 28 assists. I guess when you look back at the season he had last year, going now into a senior campaign, what expectations do you have for Barker?
He has high expectations. I expect that he would, be able to repeat his production. He's been working hard. He wants to play professionally after this. So I anticipated, a lot of extra effort, a lot of staying on after practice, a lot of coming out early before practice, and the extra time in the gym. And he'd be one of the guys that I would expect to lead our team again in points, and then hopefully we can move him on to some professional hockey after.
You have a sophomore in Braden Picard who led the team last year as a freshman with 15 goals. What made him so effective as a freshman, and how does he carry that over in a year or two and not fall in that sophomore slump?
Well, he has a lot of speed, so his speed was able to translate from junior hockey to this level, and so he's really good in tight. He's got a really good skill set, and so where he does lack a little bit in size, he makes up for in being a very dynamic type of player.
Mentioned a couple of questions ago about Barker being one of the seniors, one of 5 on the roster. You have Nick Gainey in that category as well. And speaking of Gainey, okay, so he had 11 goals, 8 assists, 5 power play goals. His brother Jordan, now a freshman on the team. How do those two compare, maybe contrast to one another, the brothers?
They're very different players, actually. Nick is he's quite a bit more offensive. Jordan's a little bit more of a two-way player. However, both of them I actually plan on using on the penalty kill. Was actually one one of our PK groups was actually to have them out there together. Where they do compare is they both are extremely competitive guys, and hard workers. They want to be held accountable, and they take responsibility in their own end as well.
When you look at your senior group, do you like where your leadership's at this point?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Went with a little unorthodox with the 4 leaders, with the captain and 3 assistants, but I think that they've really have excelled in their roles. Especially over the course of this pandemic, especially in the summer. Cole did a great job of making sure he, kept everyone in the loop and, talking with me multiple times a week and, making sure all the messages were relayed to him. And, he's done a great job with, delegating with some of those responsibilities I've given him.
How big of a luxury is it from a goaltending standpoint? You mentioned Bo Dieter and going down in that exhibition game, but to have somebody of Bo Dieter's experience, but then also to have Eric Schutte, who's got some experience, to have those two that you can turn to.
Yeah, no, that's huge. I mean, I've always been a believer that, you can't just have a starting goalie and a backup goalie. You need to have a 1 and a 1A, and you need that 1-2 punch. And so having someone that can step in and play is critical.
I know it's probably tough at this point without an actual game having been played outside of the exhibition, but I guess just the anticipation. What do you see as being the strengths of this team?
Well, our leadership, for one. I think that's been spot on. And like I said, our depth with some of our younger players, returning sophomores that are anticipated to have big years, some freshmen that are here that are going to have big seasons as well. And so I think right now, up front, usually you say you have a solid top 6, but I think we've got a solid top 12 in our active lineup for sure.
So then to flip that around, what concerns or question marks do you have going in?
Well, right now, just everyone staying healthy.
Kidding.
It's every game, even once we do start playing, I mean, I almost feel like they're going to still have asterisks whether you end up playing them on the weekend or not. So, yeah, just making sure everyone stays healthy, and that we all get through this.
I know it's only been about a week or so since the announcement was made that the non-conference games, at least here in November, have been wiped off the calendar. But do you feel that could be tough, keeping these guys, I guess, in that mindset that hey, we're still in the middle of the season, even though things aren't happening right now, it's still hockey season.
Yeah, that's very difficult. It's I mean, they're going to have about 7 weeks off here. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just going to be staying on top of them, still doing the Zoom meetings, still trying to keep them in the loop, still show them some video of things that we were working on so that they don't, forget some of our systems. And so, yeah, just about keeping everyone on the same page.
I want to talk about your playing days a little bit, too, because I think it's fascinating when you look at your bio, which you can read on CWFalcons.com, is you played in Canada, you've coached in Minnesota, 2 places that are well known for hockey. Explain those, or maybe describe those experiences. When we think hockey, you think Canada, you think Minnesota, and how those experiences worked out for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's been awesome in terms of networking. I mean, that's just what it's all about. Coaching is it's networking and making sure that you just learn something from everyone that you meet, whether you learn what not to do or learn what does work mm-hmm. and what to do. So, yeah, I've met a lot of great people along the way and a lot of people that have helped me get to this point for sure.
You also played among other places in Finland and the Netherlands. Is that as unique as it would sound?
Yeah, it is. The Netherlands was fun. It was a lot more like being in North America. They had a lot of imports in that league, so it was almost kind of like playing in the United States a bit. And the Dutch speak fluent English. Finland was difficult. The English is not as prevalent, and it's a lot like Alaska where the sun goes down at noon. So that was a unique experience for sure.
How was the quality of hockey?
It's top-notch. Finland, if you look at the hockey countries, I mean, besides the United States and Canada, I mean, it's Russia, Finland, Sweden. Those are the other top 3 in Europe, so it's top-notch for sure.
So for you, maybe, outside of hockey, what was the biggest adjustment in those 2 stops that you had to make just in, living your everyday life?
Living everyday life, I mean, you're
Did it take a while to get it, adjusted or accustomed?
Yeah, yeah. Your television is in another language. You're not as part of the inside jokes in the locker room because you don't understand them. Yeah, and then just the hockey, just in general, Olympic ice, a lot less physical, a lot more speed. So then there's the learning curve of trying to adjust to that as well. And you can't really, hit and be as physical as you want to be. And so, yeah, it's definitely a change.
It blows my mind because, again, like I was mentioning, when you look at your experiences, you've been all over and you've had some great opportunities. So how is it that you ended up then at Concordia, 2-3 seasons ago?
Yeah, well, I had moved to New York for a season, and I took over being the director of a Tier 1 AAA program and established their AAA program from their squirt all the way through midget, and then was facilitating bringing junior hockey there as well, and kind of running that whole thing. And but at the end of the day, I wanted to be back in the Midwest, and I wanted to work with adults. Even though they're student athletes, our guys are still coming in at 20, 21, so our seniors are 24, 25 years old, so they're adults as far as I'm concerned. And so that was kind of the catalyst for the move for sure.
So to wrap it all up, when the season does officially begin, hopefully, again, fingers crossed, that happens in January, what are you hoping to accomplish this season? What kind of foundation are you hoping to lay down that will hopefully carry over beyond your time here as the head coach of the Falcons?
Yeah, I mean, it's just all culture. Any program that you look at, their culture, it's in the locker room, and it's the leaders have to lead. And you look at a lot of teams, and if the leaders or the elder statesmen are the ones that are starting to pack it in already, then you have problems. And so as long as your leaders lead, and you instill in them that they still have a responsibility other than going out and playing, and it's about taking care of the locker room and taking care of the freshmen and the sophomores and bringing them up the right way, then you're set up for success for sure.
Well, Coach, appreciate your time. All the best these next few weeks. Hope to see you at the rink in January, and congratulations on being named the head coach back in March.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me.
That's Bill Horton, the new head coach for Falcon men's hockey. And again, hopefully their season will get underway come January. Stay tuned to CWFalcons.com for more information. When we come back, we will turn our attention to talking field hockey with their senior and also women's lacrosse senior athlete, Cali Newman. You're tuning to Falcon Focus on CWFalcons.com.
Seems every college starts by asking the same question. What do you want to do for a living? You want to be a teacher, a businessman, a nurse? At Concordia University, we ask a slightly different question. What kind of person do you want to be? Because we believe success in life should be measured by how you live, not just what you do. Of course, that may not be the common way, but at Concordia, it's the only way. Concordia University. Live uncommon.
Welcome back to this week's edition of Falcon Focus. We got the hand sanitizer, and of course, we got to keep the air clean, and so the disinfectant spray. Get that. Everything is good on this Tuesday. We are socially distanced. The masks are on, and we're going to continue here with episode 10, being joined by field hockey and women's lacrosse senior Cali Newman. Cali, first of all, thanks for your time.
Oh, yeah.
How has your school year been so far?
Good. Different, for sure. Evolving, always changing. Classroom stuff, it's like 1 week it's some way, the next week it's different. But, I mean, it's been fun, and I'm trying to just, relish in it and enjoy it, coming to the end here. But
I'm guessing as a student you came in with the mindset kind of expect the unexpected because you knew it was going to be different. Has it been kind of what was anticipated, or has it been even more bizarre than you could have imagined?
I think some things are a lot different than I've expected, but I mean, wearing masks on campus, the food situation is kind of how you expect it to be, but sports definitely was a little bit different than I thought it would be, just with wearing masks and then testing every week and just not, I don't know, it's such a wonderful thing, so it's kind of sad when you have to reel it back and be like, hold on, pause everyone.
You speak about sports, and field hockey and lacrosse had a fall training camp. How did you manage to juggle between the two sports?
Oh boy, it was a lot. Especially cause stuff is always changing. So we had lacrosse like 2 or 3 times a week, field hockey 2 or 3 times a week, and then there was a couple weeks where it was like doing both at the same time, and then school, and then work, and so it definitely is a juggling act. But I mean, I'm a senior, so I've had my fair share of practice in that, so it wasn't too hard. But it was definitely a lot different.
Well, you say, okay, you're somewhat used to it from, prior years, but was it a little more intense this year just because it seemed like everything's getting cramped into a small amount of time?
Yeah, totally, yeah. And I mean, it was just weird switching from field hockey, and then sometimes I would have field hockey, and then an hour later I had lacrosse, so it was sometimes a little hard. Yeah.
And you got to fit in, like, eating in there somewhere, too.
Exactly.
So in your opinion, how did the training camps go for the two sports? From what you saw from not just yourself, but from your teammates, how did things look?
Yeah, it was good. It's so hard to say because obviously no sport had priority. So it was kind of like everyone was just kind of like, I don't know, like lacrosse. So lacrosse, we had it 3 times a week, and it was for 15 practices.
Okay.
And I don't know, it's just everything's up in the air. So everyone looks great, and I feel like just not knowing how stuff was going to be, everyone was just playing really hard, trying to enjoy it and just, like, take it for what it is and being thankful we even got to practice. But, yeah, it was just no saying if we're going to have games or, yeah.
And hopefully, knock on wood, everything goes well and things do happen come spring. And we'll talk about that in a second, too, how you're going to overlap with the two that will crisscross schedule-wise. But you probably get this question a lot. From a high school standpoint, you lettered in field hockey and soccer, so how did you end up playing lacrosse?
So lacrosse was a little short in numbers, and Coach Emily kind of just approached me. I had a friend who was previously in field hockey who had joined. She was kind of trying to get me to play, a couple other field hockey players to play, and just to have fun with it and see what it was like. And I ended up really loving it. So I played my junior year.
Okay.
And my sophomore year, and then I played my junior year, but it obviously got cut short a little bit, and then I had this fall season.
So did you know anything about the sport going in?
No, nothing. Nothing at all. I knew it was easy to switch over from field hockey to lacrosse. I knew that if you're fast, you have a little bit of an advantage because you don't have anything that you're dribbling or doing anything with your hands like you are in field hockey. So I knew the bare minimum. Catching and throwing was definitely something I had to learn. I don't have the best hand-eye coordination, but I mean, it was really fun. I loved it. And I almost, like, at the end of it, I have felt like if I would have started playing younger, it could have been, like, my sport for sure. But
so ultimately, maybe it wasn't the catching and the throwing, but what was the biggest adjustment that you had to make for a sport that you really knew very little about?
That's a good question. I feel like I'm a pretty well-rounded player, but I guess the weird part was just, like, how fast you move. Lacrosse is, like, very much speed, and it was just different to see something in the air. I'm not used to that. Everything's always on the ground, so it was kind of weird catching and, yeah, doing stuff in the air.
You mentioned your first season with lacrosse was 2019, your sophomore year. You ended up playing in 13 games, making a total of 9 starts, had 3 goals, 1 assist. Do you remember much about that first goal, which you scored on March 19th against Pomona Pitzer?
No. I don't remember anything about any goals I scored.
None at all?
Or games.
Not at all?
No. I mean, you could ask anyone on my team if I remember any situation or even, like, big wins, and I have no memory, really.
Well, we're in trouble now because that's half my quad now.
Oh, no.
No, but
I'll try.
So we talk about Pomona Pitzer. So you got that goal, your first, which you don't remember, but it did happen according to the box score. The team went west to Oregon. Do you remember much about that trip, that spring break trip? What was exciting about that opportunity?
Oh, it was really good competition. I remember that. So it was just like, I guess, really equal competition, which led for a really fun game, competitive game. It was fun to be in Oregon, and it was fun just to be on that trip in general. I feel like we all grew a lot closer together, and when you're closer as a team, obviously you're going to be closer in the games too. So I just remember feeling like really connected that game, and like it was a really competitive, fun, high-intensity game.
Had you ever been to Oregon before?
No, I hadn't.
So that's pretty neat. So you joined lacrosse, and like the first thing you had to do is pretty much go out west to a state you never been to.
Yeah, that was really fun.
spring of 2020, and we talked about that briefly too, was a season that got cut short. You ended up playing in the 3 games that were played, a goal and a couple of assists. I've asked every athlete this, and I kind of want to get your background story too. So COVID-19 hits, the season gets canceled, rest of the season's canceled. How did you find out? What was your reaction?
I was bummed, yeah. So I'm actually set to graduate in December. It's been really hard kind of deciding if I want to for sure, because I haven't had to say that I'm kind of finished with sports yet, or decided I don't want to decide that I'm finished. So that was actually going to be my last lacrosse season, and I was really set on that. So it was really sad just knowing 3 games. I was feeling really good about how I was evolving as a player, and I was really excited to just show up and hit it hard and have my last season. So it was really sad.
So then how did you use your time, trying to stay sane with A, no sports, and B, no in-person schooling?
Good question. I feel like I'm good at keeping myself busy, whether it's with school or friends or but I mean, I definitely actually at the beginning of being sent home, I kind of set it upon myself to exercise every day for a few months, and that definitely helped me a lot. So I was either outside or going to the gym with my mom, and I just had to do something to be active and get outside, and that definitely helped me stay sane mentally and physically.
I'm going to test your memory again, and not about games in particular, but we'll go back to your days at University Lake School, where, again, field hockey, soccer. And the soccer, you and I were talking off air, part of a co-op with Lake Country Lutheran, and you had a couple of runner-up finishes at state in your time at the high school level. How unique is it being part of a co-op program and playing with a lot of girls essentially you don't go to school with?
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. That was...
Because you're in a minority in a sense, because University Lake School only has a few players that go into that co-op.
Yeah, so my graduating class had 32 people in it, and we were the biggest class, which led for a really unique school experience in general. We were all super close. There was, I think, 5 or 6 girls when we had the most that were involved with soccer and the co-op from ULS, so 5 or 6 girls from ULS. But it led for such a fun experience. I feel like I almost... was a part of LCL, and the coaches were awesome. The teammates were awesome. I hung out with so many people there and went to so many school dances, actually. So it was really fun doing that. I definitely gained a new group of friends that I would have never, ever had the opportunity to. So that was really special.
But graduating with a class of 32 has got to be something else. I mean, is it to the point where you almost know everything that's going on in everybody's life? I mean, you talk about high school drama. That's got to be a whole nother level because you probably know everything about everybody.
Yes, which almost led to less high school drama because you did know everything about everyone. And, if you had an issue with someone, you were kind of in trouble because you only have 32 people. So...
How exciting was it to be part of those state tournament runs in soccer?
Really cool, yeah. It was just a different experience, something, I feel blessed that I got to experience it because not a lot of people get to play in that type of level. I played field hockey at ULS too, and we were not very good. So that was never happening for us in there. But, it was so cool being at U-Line with the crowds and just being at the state level. It's really unique.
So did you ever have any aspirations to play soccer collegiately, or was it always the field hockey route for you?
So I chose Concordia because they're the only field hockey program in Wisconsin. And in my mind, it seemed a little easier to be able to play and actually get a good amount of playing time because field hockey isn't very popular, and soccer is, on the other hand. So I really love soccer. I miss it, but I did play some club stuff, indoor, outdoor in the summer. So I definitely didn't just drop soccer. But I do miss it, still playing the competitive level and being on a team that way.
When you talk about field hockey, and I'd argue it's still relatively new to the area, and certainly it's still a sport that people are learning. It is growing, certainly. When and how did you learn about field hockey? When did you start playing field hockey?
Okay, it's a funny story. So my dad wanted me to play because he thought it was going to be like ice hockey, and he wanted me to be physical. I'm a very physical player, so he wanted me to take people down. He's like, you can check them, and he begged me for a couple months, and then my Spanish teacher, who was the coach at ULS, approached me and said that they really needed help. So I was like, I'll give it a shot, whatever, I'll do it. And I really liked it. So that was kind of my introduction to it. And then I also started playing club. And then that was just fun, developing my skill set. And then Coach Sam approached me at club, and then I'm here now. So
where does that physicality come from? Is that just always been something that you've been? I mean, is it siblings? I mean, what's the story behind it?
Well, I'm a family of 5 girls, so I guess maybe my dad says that I'm the boy of the family, so maybe I took like all the boy genes from the rest of my sisters. Yeah, I've always been that way. I got nicknamed like Brutus when I was little because I'd always hurt my sisters and like wrestle with them. But yeah, I just always have been kind of an aggressive player.
So then that's got to be tough. Okay, if you have that, I'm going to use the word DNA again, or the letters DNA again, to then play the sport of lacrosse where it's the exact opposite. I mean, you make any kind of contact and the whistle's not far behind.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's got to drive you nuts.
It does. I always say I wish lacrosse had the boys' rules because I just want to, like, hit somebody sometimes. Really, I'm, like, a really nice person, I promise. But sometimes, like, when you're on the field, I'm like, let's go.
So from a field hockey standpoint, at Concordia in 2017, you're the conference newcomer of the year. You're first-team all-conference, a year in which you had a couple of goals, couple of assists. But, when I talk about you being a conference newcomer of the year, first-team all-conference, what do those honors mean to you as it's kind of like a rite of passage where you go from high school to college and, you hold your own and you do belong?
Yeah. I always just want to stay humble, and I feel like whenever I score goals and stuff, I don't know, like part of that reaction, sometimes, I don't know, I just want to always do it in humility. And so I feel like that's kind of like recognition for what you don't say about yourself or what you don't do to prove yourself, and just like showing up and playing hard and taking every game for what it is and just doing your best. I always try to do that, and then just to get that recognition in the end is really special because it's like kind of saying like you did do your best and you worked hard for it. So
but yeah, you're still very competitive.
Yes.
Who do you think, Sam, your old teammates behind the scenes, Sam Dunn,
yes,
who's more competitive, you or Sam? Or is it equal?
Sam is very competitive, and that was a huge asset to her too. I feel like whenever we played against each other, honestly, I was always kind of scared of Sam. I love you,
Truth
Sam.
comes out.
No, I was, because she is so aggressive and competitive, and so sometimes it's hard to get that same type of player, like when you're always the competitive and aggressive one, but Sam will give it to you. Like, she'll give it right back. So, I mean, it was fun, and she definitely bettered me as a player too, so.
Well, in 2018, you played in 15 matchups. You had 14 starts. By last year, 17 matches played and started with 3 goals. So when you look at your 3 seasons, again, I know you don't necessarily remember goals, games, but what are some of your memories or highlights from your field hockey collegiate days thus far?
Bus rides.
Lots of them too.
Lots of long bus rides. Definitely has strengthened the team relationship-wise. You grow very close on our bus rides. I guess like we compete against roads pretty competitively, and those are really tough games and really mentally tough games that you have to be ready for. So I guess those games really stick out to me because there's a lot of pressure on the line.
And you talk about bus trips. Can you sleep on a bus?
I usually take medicine. You have to. They're so
whatever
long.
works.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, how did you go about passing the time? Because it seemed like at least the first couple of years you were on the bus every weekend or every other weekend.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And we're not talking like a trip down the road. We're talking
Arkansas.
hours. Yeah, well, exactly.
Virginia, Arkansas. We were all over. We would watch movies. We'd snack a lot, which was really fun because you didn't really care how much you ate because you're going to run it all off. I guess I always get really bad car sickness. So I would take medicine to just like help me feel better and then also just to knock out. But we had a lot of time to do homework and did I say watch movies? We watched
movies.
Watch yep.
Lots of movies.
Yeah, or just like talking. Somehow they went so fast. Just talking with your friends. They went faster than you'd think.
So I mentioned with lacrosse, okay, you went to Oregon. How about from a field hockey standpoint? Did you have a favorite place you visited?
Ooh,
or a place you never thought you would visit?
Yeah, Arkansas was definitely a surprise. I remember a noodle place there that was like so good, and we'd go every season.
Sam, can you confirm that?
Yes.
She's nodding her head
I
yes.
can't remember what it's called, like pizza grill or noodle grill or something like that. I don't know. So good. Highly recommend.
If you're in Arkansas.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely I think Arkansas. I remember we had a couple days or just like a day or afternoon where we had to hang out, I think. So that was fun to experience the state, because usually when you go, you don't really get to see the state that much. You just see the school.
So from a non-sports related standpoint, do you have a place on a bucket list? Like, is there a place you would love to travel to visit at some point in life?
In the U.S.
It could be it could be anywhere.
I feel like Australia would be really cool.
Why
I
is
know
that?
there's field hockey in Australia too. That'd be kind of unique to see a little.
Take your talents down.
Yeah, yeah. Australia seems cool. Although there's a lot of animals that would want to eat you, I feel like there. I don't know.
Sounds like that's a fear we'll have to tap into another
Yeah.
episode. Field hockey and lacrosse. You mentioned right now you got to make a decision. Okay, are you going to continue on in the springtime? And then you talked about you thought maybe last year would be it for lacrosse. If all goes according to plan, field hockey will begin on February the 27th. First home match will be on March the 13th, and then women's lacrosse will get underway on March 1st. First home match on March the 6th. So, assuming you're able to play both, have you thought about how that's going to work out and who's going to take priority, when they're going to take priority, how that's going to play out?
I would probably place field hockey as my priority. I'm a captain on the team, so that's kind of important.
Yep.
And I definitely came here to play field hockey, so they kind of have my heart first. But it will definitely be unique trying to balance that. I'm not afraid, really, but I know it'll just be a lot of communication with the coaches and the players, and being careful to make sure I'm doing okay during it all. But yeah.
And fingers crossed, this all pans out, this all plays out, this all comes together. And again, that's the thought right now is things will get underway at least game-wise at the end of February. Practice and all that will begin before that. Finally, okay, being a senior, whether you graduate December, whether you wait till the springtime, you're listed as an elementary education major.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. See, that's why I stated it the way I did, because things don't always get updated. So what's the major now?
Actually, so I was elementary ed for 5 weeks, and then I was like
That's it. 5 weeks.
5 weeks.
So nobody got the memo. That's really old.
I know. And then I was determined to just get my associate, so I was only gonna be here for 2 years.
Okay.
But I could not stand thinking about being done with sports in just 2 years, so I stayed. Obviously, I'm here now, and I'm in marketing and management. So
like, going that path, then ultimately, what's the hope? What do you hope that major will lead to?
I have always wanted to be self-employed. So whatever that means, I know I'll probably have to start small and just develop my skill set. But eventually, that's kind of been my dream. I love people, and I love being creative. So something that kind of has that balance of all those.
Well, good luck, Cali. Thanks for your time.
you.
Hopefully, we'll see you out in the field competing come February into March. But that is Cali Newman, a senior for both field hockey and women's lacrosse. We also thank the new men's hockey head coach, Bill Horton. Thanks to Sam Dunn and Jeremy Crawford behind the scenes. Matt Mental, thanks for joining us for Falcon Focus. And again, we'll be back with you next Tuesday as long as it's safe to do so. A couple more weeks left here in the first semester for Falcon Focus, and you're tuned in via CWFalcons.com.